Boys.
A mean guy.
Hey.
Mean guy.
Be nice.
Look, no, he started it. Look, he started it.
He only does work when it's on his own project. Look at this.
But I've been working all day.
The hours.
Busted.
I've been working all day.
When are you gonna have this?
That's a pretty straight tape line there, bud. Pretty, looks nice.
Straighter than you.
Wow, that's not true. All right, we're back for this week's Sunday video. It's not Sunday, it's like Tuesday, but we're filming for Sunday. So I'm getting started on this thing tonight. It's after hours, we're all playing with our own toys. Eddie's working on his Miata bumper. Yes, Eddie has a Miata.
Don't judge me, please. Please don't judge me.
Ricky's working on his dirt bike out back. And I'm working on my Cutlass because it just needs to get done. So like I said in last Sunday's video, I really want to get the back section of this made just to triangulate the rear even more. And might be using that. We'll have to see. But I better stop talking and get to working. Here we go. All right, well, once again, another big thanks to everybody who has bought some merch here recently. We've been packaging it up and shipping it out, which right now this is our little merch area. And we've got some other small job stuff here sitting on the bench, but winwithksr.com, you can get merch, you can send an inquiry to buy parts. We do sell quite a bit of parts through the website, which is awesome. And we've got a used part section. Like that shelf over there is a bunch of good stuff that we've taken off of things or haven't used, or customers brought us to use and we couldn't use it. So we've just put it on the shelf here. Like there's a wiring harness thing, switch panel. There's the part number. Look it up if you want it. Oil pump for an Oldsmobile. Race pack dash. It's a shifter, or no, that's a steering wheel adapter. Brand new set of 6 3/8 big block Chevrolet aluminum connecting rods. Never even used them. Distributor, mini starter. Don't even know what that's for. Big block Chevrolet intake. Most of it's on the website in the used part section, but who knows what you might find in there. But go check it out if you're interested in picking up some of parts at a discounted price, really discounted price. And just as a reminder, there's quite a bit of stuff that's actually online on the website with different Holley EFI kits, some Leash Electronics stuff, some TRG Motorsports stuff, Motion Raceworks stuff, like all kinds of stuff that we keep adding to the website so that it would make it easier for you guys to buy things. Or just give us a call and we will get you taken care of. So anyways, enough for the sales pitch. Let's get to cranking on the Cutlass. And the first thing I'm going to do is measure. You know, I'm going to design a bar in BendTech. So we got to measure the gap from there to there, because that's where that bar is going to land, about right there. So it's just a little bit below the window. It doesn't have to be below the window, but I'm going to make it sit there. So that way it's, you don't see a whole ton of it sticking through the side glass. Of course, who knows, this may get blocked off anyway. I don't know if I'm gonna put a piece of carbon fiber over that or what I'm gonna do. Got a dirt dauber along for the ride over here. But we want to go from here back to a little bit ahead of that. But what I need to make sure that I do height wise is I want to have from that hoop then be able to go down and then curve to like what's going to end up being the parachute bar height. So got to do a little bit of measuring and some calculations and whatnot, and then we're going to bend up a bar and then set it in here and mock it up, see how it looks when it goes level. And I think I'm also going to have you know, a tab or something come off and catch that windshield or that rear window frame area there. All right, enough talking. Let's get to work.
All right, so first time lapse of this video. Gonna be a quick one here, just walking you through or showing you guys at least how I measure some stuff and write it down. You can kind of see I'm thinking about things a little bit here and there. And one of the things to remember is I have to measure things in the same way that the BendTech program is calculating them. So there's multiple ways to calculate the bends with the program, but some bends, or one of the modes, is from going from the outside of the tube, and then another mode is from the inside, and another mode is from the center of the tubing. I usually use the center line of the tubing, but where this back hoop is going to land on an angle to the main hoop, I have to kind of take some liberties with some guessing and then use the program to verify the different functions. And right now I'm looking at the SFI spec books to kind of get some ideas and also to double check across some of the other specs to make sure that what I am doing is going to pass for the higher spec or the quicker chassis spec if we ever go down that road in the future. So the initial goal is 25.3, and then we'll go on from there if we need to.
All right, well, I got to thinking about it, and I thought I would just show you guys kind of what I was looking at in the spec book, because we have some different options. And for those that have been asking, we get these books from the SFI Foundation. I'll try and remember to put the link down in the comments, but I might forget. So if I don't put it in the comments, remind me, and then I'll post it in the comments, or you guys can post it in the comments. So, and another thing I'm wanting to do here is, because I have the other books and I want the car to be able to dual certify, I went and double checked, but in actuality, in the other specs, there is no mandate for what to do. Oh man. Okay. So you can see these are the bars we're about to work on here. And I'm going to be doing it a little different with like a rear hoop. So we've got some different options. Like, see, they're pink colored. So pink is 1 3/8 049. Well, I don't have any of that. This is kind of like what I'm doing, I guess. And that only has to be 1 1/4. Is that the lighter blue? I'll have to go look at the deeper part of the spec, but so I could do 1 1/4 here, but because of the trailer hitch, I think I'm just going to do 1 1/2. And I know I have my bender set up where it bends 1 1/2 really nice. And basically, if we go from, so 1 1/2 065 is 0.996 pounds per foot. 1 1/4 058, 0.738. So for 10 feet, we're looking at roughly 2.6 pounds difference. And I know we're kind of adding up some different weights here and there with the bars that we have oversized already, but this is the compromise that I'm making for a little bit of peace of mind on the streetcar stuff. We did the same thing with Val and Steve Morris's Camaro, so I'm gonna do the same thing again here. A little bit oversized in that department. I mean, I'm gonna be carrying a little bit of extra weight, but I'm okay with that. Still think we can meet our weight goals, and maybe one day I'll build a super lightweight car, kind of like Cletus's new car that CJRC is building for them. Kind of cool to watch that thing come together, and like, yeah, I think that's going to be a neat build. But anyways, I've got my dimensions for, you know, the main hoop there. So we're gonna plug them into BendTech here. Got Facebook up. So let's see, template. We want 2 bends. Let's go with this. Let's go to center. And we're gonna select 1.5 inch, 0.65. 1.5 inch, 0.65 road fab. All right, so I know that I want my middle section here to be straight for at least 26 inches, because then that gets me straight where the lower frame rails are underneath. And then I can add a vertical bar on each side to tie down to that lower frame rail section. So I'm gonna take a wild guess here, and we'll try, let's try 32. And then to go back, I need 36.5, but I'm gonna notch a little bit of it. So let's say 37. I guess that makes sense. And then 53. So now we'll go verify. That looks a little narrow. So straight to straight. Basically 23 inches. So I need to add, let's add 4 inches to our measurement here. So 36. Okay, go back to verify. Pick on the straight section there. 26.7. Yeah, that'll let me land right there and not be too crazy. The other option is I could just do a straight bar here and then run it straight from there to there, but I kind of feel like having it in one bar for this rear kind of hoop section, I feel like that would be stronger. And since we're oversizing it anyways, that's just what we're gonna do. So, time for me to go fire up the Rogue Fab bender, which is really just plugging it into some air. And we'll put the clamp blocks on it, and we will make 2 bends. All right, so one thing you guys may not realize, or you may assume, sometimes things change between some of the times I'm planning something and then the time I actually go to execute the final bar. And I got to thinking, and I actually grabbed the arm from the TRZ anti-roll bar we're going to be using, which is going to be a 6-inch version of this. Isn't that pretty? Ooh, billet, billet. So I did some mathing and some stuff, and instead of going way back, we're going to actually stop the bar over this bar, and then we'll drop a vertical down to there, because that's actually the most stressed member in the car. The anti-roll bar is, at least in my opinion, is under more of a twisting load than the shocks. Because if you think about the shocks in a radial car, the most load they actually see, the shock mounting points, is when the car is sitting with its own weight on it. Because the way we build separation into a radial car, you could actually take the spring out of the car. Once you leave the starting line, let go of the trans brake button, the spring is assisting the separation, but not nearly as much as actually the shock is typically set pretty tight so that it doesn't just bounce the tire off the ground. Lots of different things will work out there later, but yeah, you could literally take the spring out of a radial car once it left the starting line. Now, obviously you'd have a little bit of a problem when you got to the finish line and you needed to set the car back down, but eventually it would just keep compressing and compressing and compressing until the rear end was riding on, I guess, the bump stop of the shock. So anyway, a little bit of change of plans, thinking things through a little bit, making things better, I think. And plus it ends up being lighter, shorter bar, better triangles. So, all right, let's try executing that bar and see if we can get this wrapped up.
All right, well, now that I have done all of the calculating and decision making on how that bar is going to fit, now it's time to go bend up the bar so that we can start fitting it into the car. And you'll see that the Rogue Fab bender uses a clamp block that, you know, basically tightens up around the tube, and that is where the machine grabs a hold of it. And then you can try and get those clamp blocks. Ideally, you get them to where they are exactly square with each other. And then when you pull them through the machine and pin the clamp block to commit to your next bend, ideally it all works out to where the bars or the bends are in the same plane with each other. Unfortunately for me, on this bend, I got the legs about half a degree off from each other. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but later in this little time lapse here, you'll be able to see just how much that half a degree shows up, because I decide to set the legs of the bar that come forward and attach to the main hoop, or they're going to weld to the main hoop. I decide to set those even with each other so that they are level. And then what that's going to do is put the back bar 0.5 degrees out from where it should be. So to fix that, I'm going to end up making the vertical bars. I'm going to make them where they are the same length. And they end up being a bit of a tough fit, which I'll explain a little bit more of that later as well. But the first order of business is getting the back hoop here, getting it notched, and it is landing on the angled part of this bar here. So that's going to complicate things just a little bit. And I'm using my Centurial magnetic adjustable magnetic blocks, I guess you could call them, to hold the bars where they meet the tube, and then just using a ratchet strap to hold the center of the bar so it kind of holds it up so that I can see where the bar needs to be tweaked a little bit more to get the fit just right. I also noticed on the first notch that the notch wasn't exactly square in the center of the tube. We had been doing some offset notching for another project, and I just didn't quite get it back centered exactly in the center of the tube, so I had to make a little adjustment there, and I did a test notch on the bar that ends up becoming one of the vertical bars here in just a few minutes. But now that we've got this all notched, kind of clean up the notched area just a little bit, and I need to show it better maybe in another video or in an up close spot of how I like to kind of finish the tube after a notch so that I'm welding to the full thickness of the tubing. It's one thing that I was taught early on and made sense to me, so I've continued to do it. And you may have caught in just a little bit there that I did use my little polisher to polish the very ends of the tube. I don't polish the whole tubes just because it does seem like anywhere I polish the tube rusts quicker. And even though we've got air conditioning in the shop, it seems like things still want to get a little bit of surface rust on them. I guess it's just super humid, where our shop is at. And you can actually see the fan blowing in the breeze of the AC unit. So just to keep the whole entire cage from rusting, the part with the mill scale on it, or I guess whatever this coating is that they send out on the bars, if I leave that on there, those parts take longer to rust. So that's why I leave that on there, until it's going to go to powder coat. And then when it gets powder coated, they will sandblast the whole cage and then, blow the powder coating onto the whole thing. So definitely a lot of little chasing around with the grinder to touch up, which actually I don't even use a grinding wheel. I use a sanding disc in my, side grinder to just nibble away at the tube just a little bit to get that perfect fit. And sometimes it is, a little bit of a process to chase that down, and oftentimes things take longer than you think they're gonna. So I can't remember what I'm doing here, but probably the last little fit up before I drag our HTP welder over and start to at least put just enough tack on this that I know it's not gonna, break the tack and break off when I'm putting the vertical bars into the back. So, yep, I can see I've got my cheaters on for welding. So somewhere right in here, after doing some measuring and squaring things up the best that I can, I'm going to put the welding helmet on and put a couple of tack welds to it. And now that I've got that done, I'm just kind of using the ratchet strap straight forward in the car just to kind of hold it all in place, just so that I can, now I'm eyeballing it to make sure it's level-ish, and I can see that bar is a little crooked. But we are going to fix that here in just a couple of minutes. And the blue tape is kind of an idea just of what we're going to do.
All right, so we're back in the next morning. Obviously looking a little different after a shave. And you might have seen my little tape job last night to kind of visualize what I had planned. And I had to kind of sit and stare at it a little bit last night just to see what I thought of things. Like, at least when it comes to, these cars, like, they're not all the same build every time. Like, if we were building the same body over and over again, it would be kind of sweet because you could document each and every tube, and then the next one comes a lot easier. But I mean, we've done, in the last couple of years, we've done a 63 Chevy 2 and a 2010 Camaro and a 63 Dodge Dart and a few other little cars, and they've all been different. So I have logged all of my tubes in my BendTech program, as well as the different lengths and everything. And I mean, depending on, it's not too many people that want to gut the body as much as I've done here, even though that in a lot of ways is pretty nice, and I think it's the nicest way to do it, but it's also the most work. I mean, there's a lot of hours that go into doing one to this level, but we're going to keep chipping away at it. I came in early this morning before everybody got here because I want to at least get the vertical bars dropped down, and that'll probably be where I stop. I think I can get those done in the next hour. That'll probably be where I stop for not this video, because I want to get some more of those done for this video, but that'll be where I stop before I get back to regular shop work when everybody else gets here. But if I'm going to do that, I got to get back to work. So here we go.
Well, let's have one last time lapse to finish this video up. Ripped my blue tape back out of there, and
this bar goes pretty quick. So a little quick shot of me drilling the pilot hole in there to let the hot air out of the tube as I'm welding it. And where I'm trying to land these vertical tubes is right where you can see the horizontal bar that's coming back towards the cross member for the upper control arm mounts. And that cross member also has the bar that goes up to the back shock cross member. Well, I'm trying to land basically both of these bars where those, on each side is 3 tubes come together. So that's going to make it the 4th tube in that one intersection point, which actually there's the bottom of that triangle leg there too. So that's makes it 4 bars that are all coming together at that one junction point. And I'm really trying to make this cross member in the car like the most well supported bar that is in the car, just because between the upper control arms pulling on it and the anti-roll bar going right there behind where I'm making these vertical bars, like that's a lot of stress that's going to be on the chassis right there. So one other thing you can see here is how much the horizontal level of that back part of the tube changes when I knock in this tube on the driver's side. So that's what a 1/2 degree looks like when straightening it out to get it back to level. And you'll see me here in a second, I bounce my little digital level around. The bar, the vertical bar on the left does not look like it's straight up and down, but I think that's just the camera angle or the lens on the camera. But when I put the level on it, it is 000, just like the horizontal bars. Everything is 90 degrees to each other at those joints. So everything checks by the scale or by the digital protractor, digital angle gauge, whatever you want to call it. But at least now it looks more level looking at that left side vertical bar. So I left this whole welding sequence in just to show you guys some of the different angles and some of the different positions you have to take to get a good weld on all of these joints all the way around them. So I end up welding in from the trunk side. I end up welding through the quarter windows. Anything I can do to get a comfortable welding position so that I can, wrap an inch or 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch around the tube from each location. And I'm kind of bouncing around to all the different joints so everything kind of gets heated up equally. I can't say that I've scientifically tested, doing one joint all the way around and then moving to the next joint, but it makes sense to me to move around a little bit and kind of spread the heat around and make sure everything kind of warms up and cools at the same time, at the same rate. So that's what I've done for a while, and until somebody shows me a better way to do it, that's the way I'm going to do it.
All right, well, I think that's actually going to wrap up the video on the Cutlass for this week. And I wanted to come in or at least stay late on Friday and go from here down to there on both sides. But I kind of burned my arm today and made me mad, and I don't want to be here anymore. So I'm going home, and then I think me and my girlfriend are going to go chill out in the pool. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you all again for watching, and this is coming out on Memorial Day weekend, so everybody remember what this weekend means, aside from all the awesome racing that is happening at Monaco, Indy, and Charlotte. This is a pretty important weekend to remember in our history as a country. But that'll do it for this video. See you guys next time.